Oh, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Fightful Select NXT Recap Show. NXT UK Recap Show. Not just NXT. No. NXT UK. Covering the weekly 2 hours of United Kingdom programming provided to us from the fine folks at World Wrestling Entertainment. I am Mr. Warren Hayes. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this podcast, watch it perhaps here on FightfulSelect.com. Perhaps you're even joining us live, such as Tim is right now in the chat. How you doing, Tim? Because I do these live all the time. So if you ever wanted to have the full-on NXT UK or NXT or 205 Live podcast experience, there's nothing like coming in and joining live. I do the NXT 205 Live recap every Wednesday. And for as long as WWE decides to do double episodes of NXT UK a week, I will come back to y'all with a double dose of Warren Hayes here on FightfulSelect.com. I'll do this show here. Instead of trying to cram 4 hours of programming into 1 hour, I'm going to do this nice and loose so we have time to talk, time to figure stuff out. Chit-chat. Have a good time. Have a good time. The news surrounding NXT and the contract controversy sort of been slowly dying down. We haven't heard much of it over the past couple of weeks. However, Noam Dar last week, he went back to Scotland to work some ICW dates, with Insane Championship Wrestling, which is, if I'm not mistaken, one of his original stomping grounds. I believe same promotion that gave us Killian Dane and Drew McIntyre. I think they all originate from ICW. So he was working some dates, did some press, and was talking to a local newspaper. He gave an interview talking about the working relationship between WWE and European promotions like Progress and ICW. And he says that Noam Dar said that it's kind of like a token of gratitude from WWE to allow guys like him and other ICW alumni to return to the promotion. He said, quote, "I think it's important to be able to highlight and showcase that these promotions like ICW exist without WWE, and especially now that there's a great working relationship there. I think that that's WWE's token of gratitude to ICW to allow guys that were homegrown there to come and put performances on now and again and give back and help. I think it's really important to the development of the company and us personally. It's really good to have these opportunities." I got to be frank. No, I got to be Warren Hayes. I got to be transparent with you. It's a little, I find it's a little highfalutin as far as commentary goes. So it's like, here, WWE is giving you this token of gratitude. It's like, kind of it feels a little uppity. I understand what he's saying though. Like, that it's, it to a certain extent, WWE is not at least trying to not come across as the indie killer, as this monolithic beast that is going to swallow up all of the talent and all the promotions. That they're still ready to let some of their currently signed talent to go back and work these promotions. I understand what he's trying to say. I think he may have just said it a little strangely. But I mean, again, still showing still, there's still signs here that WWE does have these very tight working relationships with other promotions in the UK, which is important. There's definitely a bit of damage control going on here, a little positive PR, a little positive spin here, which is sorely needed after all the uproar regarding the UK contract. So that's good. Good on him. You can check out this entire article, by the way, just saying, on Fightful.com. Neat little website. I don't know if you've heard about it. So you can check out that the full report right there. Pete Dunne also said earlier this week that he wants to be able to, he does want to head up onto WWE main roster. He wants to wrestle he wants to wrestle AJ Styles. He wants to be able to get his AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan. He wants to be able to get some matches in against those guys. But he wants to take NXT UK to new heights alongside talents who are eager to be in his position, like Dave Mastiff, Eddie Dennis, and Tyler Bate, Tony Storm, and Rhea Ripley. So yeah. So, and regarding his desire to move up on the main roster, Dunn said, yeah, one day. For now, my focus is entirely on NXT UK, he says during an interview with the Sport Bible. I enjoy the stuff I do in the States with the US side of things, and I'm really glad I get to have that experience, but still, even when I'm there, my main focus is this brand, meaning NXT UK. It is this title. I want people to be able to look back at those title defenses and say every single one of them held up. I want to create something before I eventually do leave to go to the main roster or to the US brand full-time or whatever else opens up to me. I want to build this and make it as solid as I can and build the best foundations as possible. So that is entirely my focus, but maybe one day. Are we shocked that Pete Dunne has main roster aspirations? No. Before you guys could answer, the answer is absolutely not. We are not surprised. we actually but I mean, it's good that Dunn has this vision for himself, that he wants to work the brand. One could argue that he's articulating talking points, that maybe that's what he was said to say, but at some point you sort of have to leave the cynicism behind a little bit, because since he first appeared on the WWE radar and participated in the first UK Championship tournament, WWE has been fantastic to him and has given him extraordinary opportunities, and he's been fantastic back as well. He's been quite the ambassador. I think he's embracing the role tremendously. I don't think he's been, I don't think he's been hampered in any way. He puts on stellar matches every time. This is good. Good for him. I hope, I hope his relationship with WWE continues to grow. Yeah, and I really do think that WWE knows they have something really special on their hands with Pete. I'm at a point that it doesn't really bother me whether he ends up on main roster or not, or when he ends up there. They've got a real legitimate star. I think building them the way they're doing right now is only going to help him out. So as far as WWE NXT UK news, that's where we're at. I'm taking quite a few sips of drink right now because I have I have a little something caught in my throat. Not quite sure what it is. Pollen? Not in December in Canada. No, sir. All right, let's go to it. Let's get to the shows. 2 shows, starting with episode 17 of NXT UK. Jordan Devlin kicks off this episode versus Wild Boar Mike Hitchman. 2 guys I like. I got to tell you, Jordan Devlin quickly becoming one of my brand new favorite wrestlers. I'm unfortunately unfamiliar with the work that he's done in OTT. Haven't seen much of him up until he started being featured on NXT UK. That match that he had a few weeks ago against Pete Dunne was outstanding. And now tonight he has another great match here against Mike Hitchman. And Hitchman, goes after Devlin and gets him down fast. He hits a hammerlock back body drop on Devlin, but eventually the Irish Ace finally gets some forearms in the back. Excuse me. That's really strange. Apologies for that. Sincere, deep, real apologies. I hope that's the end of that. So Devlin fights back, gets some forearms on Hitchman's back. He gets Wild Boar down with some really savage forearms to his face. That was some brutal stuff he got in there. Devlin has his offense looks crisp and it is crisp, but it looks really strong. He's pitch perfect as far as his striking game goes. It looks really, really good. Devlin pulls back on a chin lock on Hitchman. He has his knee grinding into the back. Hitchman tries to battle back, but gets whipped into the corner hard. Devlin then gets a Uranagi in and goes for a standing moonsault, but Hitchman moves out of the way. Splat goes Devlin. Running senton on Devlin, who was trying to get back up. He was on all fours, so he ate a senton while he was on all fours. Ouch. Boar battles back, or it's not battling back. He's actually in control right now with some fists, a Uranagi of his own. Flying shoulder tackle into the corner on Devlin. And I like Hitchman as well. He's got some great explosive offense. He's a tough guy. He's a big guy, but everything he does looks convincing. Looks really, really convincing. Devlin battles back with a really nice whirlwind kick, and he covers Boar and gets 2.9. Devlin goes up top and misses the moonsault. The moonsaults aren't working. Devlin, Jordan, they're not working. Gets a pop. Boar gets a pop-up powerbomb. He misses the cannonball in the corner on Jordan Devlin, who battles back with the backdrop driver and the Island's Call, and that is that. Jordan Devlin secures another win on NXT UK. He has a microphone, and he says, basically, when are you people going to learn what the rest of the locker room knows? When you bet on Jordan Devlin, it's never a gamble because the ace trumps all, because he's the Irish ace. You see, you have the ace of the universe over in Japan. So that title's already been taken. So just go for the Irish ace. I'm telling you guys, Jordan Devlin, man, he's fantastic. I really, really like his stuff. He's looking good. Looking good. Mustache Mountain come out then. Oh, no, they don't come out yet. You have a quick promo segment backstage. Basically that they're saying that they're focused on the NXT UK titles. Or actually, they're gonna take care of their Gallus problem, and then that's gonna help them focus on the NXT UK tag titles. Some, basic stuff. And we see Rotzi backstage with Mark Andrews and Flash and Morgan Webster. You have to appreciate, like, I understand that the whole mod thing is Morgan Webster's gimmick, but you have to appreciate the man's sense of style. Like, you still have to know how to, you still have to understand the proper stylings of mod fashion to be able to pull it off successfully. And the gentleman does it. Anyway, they're cutting a promo, and they'll be fighting the grizzled young veterans on the next episode, which are Zach Gibson and James Drake. And what I really found funny in this promo is all the while that Mark Andrews was talking and Webster was waiting for his cue, basically, to cut in. What I thought was really funny was that Webster was like staring at Mandrew's beard the whole time. He wasn't like looking up in his face and his eyes, or his eyes were slightly lower, and he's kind of like looking at his beard or his mouth. And it looked pretty funny. It made me laugh. Something that didn't make me laugh was this next match, because matches are serious stuff. Fabian Aichner versus the English Lion, Eddie Ryan. Fabian Aichner no longer Evolved champion, boys and girls. He lost it to Austin Theory in a triple threat match against, which also included Roderick Strong, NXT's own undisputed era man, Roderick Strong. So Aichner, no longer the top guy in Evolve. He's facing Eddie Ryan, who's a hometown boy. They're in Plymouth, and he gets a big reaction as he comes in. Aichner extends his hand in a show of sportsmanship to begin with. I guess it's his new gimmick, because he's been doing that since he debuted on NXT UK. Just extending the hand, but then just being a dick. So basically, he extends the hand, and Ryan goes to shake it, and Aichner does one of these. And I'm like, wow, this is some retro heel stuff. This is like 1994. Doing the pull away and doing the slicking back the hair, which is even funnier because Fabian Aichner doesn't have hair. So Aichner tries to psych Ryan out. So they have some back and forth that ends with a drop kick from Ryan. And he clotheslines Aichner out of the ring. Ryan runs the ropes. That's another tongue twister, which I feel I was able to manage through it rather effortlessly. Ryan runs the ropes. But Aichner comes in and grabs him into a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Starts stomping the English Lion down. Belly to back suplex by Aichner. Covers Ryan, only gets 2. Then Aichner gets Ryan into a stretch, who eventually battles out of it, but Aichner backflips him. Backflips him. Ryan runs the ropes is easier to say than backflips him. Ryan then tries to land on his feet. He's supposed to land on his feet, but he kind of misses his spot. He battles back with some strikes nonetheless. Flying European uppercut from the second rope covers Aichner for 2. Aichner then uses the ropes to get out of an Alabama slam position. Then he drapes Ryan up on the top rope and tosses him to the outside. He sets Ryan up against the steel steps. Now, this is becoming part of Aichner's MO. We saw it with Mark Andrews. We saw it with Flash Morgan Webster. Tosses the guy into the steel steps on the outside and runs the knee to the head. Back in the ring, he picks Ryan up into a spinning electric chair, sit-out powerbomb move, and covers him and gets the win. And there you go. Fabian Aichner being established as a crazy guy. as a psychopath. Let's put it that way. A guy who is out to win, was ready to do anything to do it. It's interesting when you think that, and I think commentary pointed it out. You know, Fabian Aichner participated in the Cruiserweight Classic, but he's put on some beef. He's not a cruiser anymore. He's unquestionably not under 205 pounds anymore. So that's that. But I've always enjoyed his work in NXT. I thought he always did a great job, and I'm glad he's getting a somewhat of a proper push here in the UK brand. Something he never quite got in NXT, so good for him. Next, we have Mustache Mountain against Tyson T-Bone and Saxon Huxley. Golly gee willikers. This is, they're still establishing themselves as these tag teams fighting each other to impress Johnny Saint, because that tournament for the tag team titles is coming up or whatever. Golly gee willikers. I wonder who's going to win here. Is it going to be the two random guys paired together, or is it going to be the long-time established tag team who have actually won tag team gold in many promotions, not NXT North America, notwithstanding? Anyway, T-Bone starts off against Tyler Bate with a flurry of strikes. He pushes Bate into the corner, but Bate battles back with some strikes of his own. But T-Bone lifts and drives him into the corner. Huxley comes into his corner. Huxley's in. He lifts Bate into a backbreaker position, but your man Tyler battles back with a diving strike. He tags Seven in, who goes right to work on Huxley with chops to the neck. But Huxley battles back with a Luthez press that takes Seven down. T-Bone comes in. He and Seven trade some chops, but Trent gets him down with a DDT. T-Bone then knocks Trent Seven out with a huge elbow. Some double team offense by the heels established very, very clearly at this point that Trent Seven is your babyface in peril. Running boot to Seven, who's down in the corner. Hux comes in, running crossbody into Seven, who's draped over the ropes. He covers the dean of British Strong Style. He should add that to his resume. I'll give that one. It's yours, Trent. You can take it. The dean of British Strong Style. Anyway, he being Huxley covers Trent, but only gets 2. T-Bone is back in with an elbow drop, covers Seven for 2 as well. Seven tries to power his way back to Bate, but T-Bone gets the clubbing forearms on the back to take him down. However, Seven gets a Snapdragon suplex on T-Bone. Huxley comes in, eats an enziguri, and the hot tag is made to Tyler Bate. He's a man on fire. He catches Huxley and hits an exploder suplex, does a kip up, standing shooting star press, covers, but T-Bone comes in to break up the pin. But Tyler Bate rolls out of the way, and T-Bone ends up elbowing his partner instead. Bop and bap by Bate. T-Bone is on the outside. Bate dives onto him. Huxley becomes the legal man, avoids Tyler Driver 97, but then Trent Seven comes in, and they do their combination lariat Snapdragon suplex move for the win. What a shocker. Yes, as far as good ambassadors for the brand, I mean, Tyler Bate and Trent Seven, all of the British Strong Style guys. Good choices, good picks, fantastic athletes, and who are all able to transcend their roles in the ring. This was a fun match. I liked it. Rodzi is backstage interviewing Dave Mastiff, who's basically saying that now that he's done with Eddie Dennis, he's looking forward to getting into the UK Championship scene, but until he's blindsided by Eddie Dennis. It comes out of nowhere. Dennis says, "You think this is over?" And I'm at home and I'm clapping my hands because I am pleased as punch that they're going forward with more Mastiff and Dennis stuff. Mastiff Dennis. Dave Mastiff and Eddie Dennis. Last week, their match was actually a lot of fun. Starting to convert me into a Dave Mastiff. Starting to convert me into the Dave Mastiff Appreciation Club. Because right up till last week, I didn't quite get his upside. I didn't know what everyone was so high on him about. Not that he's not talented. I just didn't know what was about him that made people go goo goo gaga. Maybe not goo goo gaga. Mostly babies go goo goo gaga. Or maybe people going, Dave Mastiff has a very good following. People like him really much, really a lot much. And I was really excited to see what he was going to do against Eddie Dennis. I thought they had a good match. I said that I was also kind of disappointed that they got this blow off because I figured that this would actually roll into TakeOver Blackpool, but now apparently their feud's not over, so maybe it is going to go forward. Maybe they're going to look. I'm absolutely okay with these two guys going at it some more. That was a lot of fun. Their match last week. So give me more of these two guys. I'm absolutely okay with it. Settle up this who's the real monster of NXT UK in the best way you know how. Wrestling. Don't talk it out. Fight it out. Our main event is Rhea Ripley, the champ, coming to the ring to defend her NXT UK Women's title for the very first time. She's doing it against Isla Dawn. So they get into the ring and they go for it. They have a strong collarbone tie-up sequence where Dawn finally gets Ripley into a headlock. They run the ropes. Dawn trips up the champ, hits a double stomp, covers her, but only gets 2. Ripley gets out of a headlock and he hits a huge drop kick. And have you folks noticed that Rhea Ripley's legs seem like they're longer than her torso? Like she is all legs. And eating a drop kick from her? Whoo. Anyway, they look good. So she pummels Isla Dawn down with some big forearms, stomps her into the corner. Nice stalling suplex by Ripley, covers her, but only gets 2. Some more kicks, some more stomps, some more forearms. A snapmare into a chin lock by Ripley. Dawn tries to fight out, but she's having a bit of a difficult time doing so because Ripley's strong. Rhea Ripley is really, really strong. Dawn so fights out, gets back up, but she eats a lariat for her trouble. Gets covered, but only gets 2. Dawn blocks a suplex attempt, tries to roll Ripley up. It was kind of a messy sequence that ends with Ripley with the standing cloverleaf, which is super good. I still like the way the standing cloverleaf looks when applied by Rhea Ripley because she's so damn tall. But of course, eventually Isla Dawn reaches the ropes, so this match is not done yet. Dawn avoids some kicks and a drop kick, moves out of the corner as Ripley went for a shoulder block, and the champ hits the corner hard, corner post. Dawn strikes with some forearms, a few kicks, and knee to the gut. She hits a backdrop driver, spinning kick, and Dawn hits her finisher, but Ripley kicks out. Dawn's a little shocked. She's a little surprised. She doesn't know exactly what to do now. How do I put this big Australian lady away? So she tries to Irish whip her in the corner, but she can't. And instead, she eats the riptide. And Rhea Ripley is successful in her first NXT UK Women's Championship defense. Good for her. I kind of found that not unlike Naomi and Asuka this Tuesday on SmackDown, thought this match lacked a little urgency, a little chutzpah, a little oomphy doomph. That's a legit insider wrestling term. Talking about oomphy doomph. Oh no, you hang around wrestlers enough, and they'll talk about it. It's like, hey, so dude, what could we do to make this match a little better? Well, we could do a little more oomphy doomph. Trust me. But no, I thought it was a little slow. Again, like I said last week, I don't understand. I'm not 100% behind Isla Dawn as a performer overall. I mean, she's okay. There's again nothing terrible, but I don't see the upside with her yet. Could be a lot of reasons for that, but we'll see. We'll see how things develop. But even Rhea Ripley, I thought, she's the heel champ. She did the some heel offense. Wasn't that great a match. But we'll see how things start to develop as things go on. But for now, we're going to move on to the second episode, episode 18, which starts off with Toni Storm versus Charlie Morgan. They shake hands to begin with. Nice sportsmanship, but it turns quickly into something a little more sour when Morgan slaps Toni Storm across the face. And Storm, well, she goes right back at her with a flurry of slaps of her own. Kick to the gut. She runs the ropes, drop kick, covers Morgan, but only gets 2. Toni Storm then figure fours the legs and leans back forward to get Morgan into a chin lock. She's cranking her back into a U shape, but Morgan eventually reaches the ropes to break up the hold. Morgan starts to battle back as well after this with a jumping enziguri, covers Toni Storm, but only gets 2. More strikes by Morgan, running back elbow into the corner. Elbows to the back of Toni Storm's head. Then she lays in a camel clutch on Storm and gets it nice, synced in nice and proper. Cinched in, I said, not synced. Cinched. Cinched in nice and properly. Like she takes the time to secure Storm's arms between her her abdomen and her thigh and the top of her thighs, to hold her in, kind of like what much more like the Iron Sheik would do, as opposed to Rusev's Accolade, where the arms are just like flappy and are useless. So when Toni Storm starts battling out, like she actually yanks her arms out of there. So it's a cool visual. It looks good. So Storm does fight out, and she hangs on to Morgan's hands, which are under her chin. She slides between her legs and flips her over, which was a neato little spot. She hits some strikes, a release German on Morgan, hip attack in the corner, Storm 0, and your girl Toni gets the win. This was just okay. Again, it was more of a showcase match on Storm's part. It was fine. A little short. Morgan, I felt at some point seemed a little lost in the ring, which, she looked it's as if she didn't know exactly how to follow up on some moves. But this was, again, nothing awful. Just an okay match. Next, we have Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster versus Zach Gibson and James Drake. And as the match starts, the crowd is already standing up because they hate Gibson. Andrews starts off with Liverpool's number one. Andrews avoids getting caught in Gibson's offense. He does a floating arm drag off the turnbuckles. Double hip toss by the baby faces on Gibson. And you do the combination the synchronized combination standing shooting star press and moonsault. They cover Gibson, but only gets 2. Webster then hits the rude boy block. A little later on, Gibson is on the he's on the apron waiting for a tag, and he's taking his wrist tape off. Flash Morgan Webster goes up on the top rope and he tosses the tape to distract Webster, who's sort of like on the top rope, and he gets the tape and he's like, what happened? And that allows James Drake to take the mod father off the ropes and landing hard on the mat. Gibson then comes in. He has Webster in a backbreaker position. Oh no, they do this new spot They did it last week. It's still fresh to me. They do the spot where where Gibson is on the outside on the floor and he has Webster draped over his knee in a backbreaker position, and Drake then jumps off the apron with the knee. I think that's a cool spot. Looks good. Gibson then works him in, tosses him into the barricade, gets back into the ring, and shoes are off. The audience's shoes are off. Why? Well, because they hate Gibson. Webster is your babyface in peril for the better part of this match. Gibson and Drake keep him cut off from Mandrews, but eventually a double team effort fails, and Webster gets the hot tag to Mark Andrews, who comes in with a Hurricane Rana on Gibson. He's striking Drake. Mandrews with a back flip, and he kicks both heels in the face. That was a nice spot there. Nice explosive offense by Andrews as usual. Drake catches a Mandrews moonsault, but Andrews reverses it into a DDT and covers Drake for 2. Andrews tries to battle back against both heels with a certain level of success until he eats a ticket to ride by Gibson, who covers him, but only gets 2. Eventually, Webster gets tagged in. He dumps Gibson over the top rope to the outside. He hits Drake with an inverted Hurricane Rana, which didn't 100% connect, but we appreciate the effort. Good job. Covers Gibson. Covers Drake, but Gibson breaks it up. Webster hits a big headbutt on Gibson. Mandrews goes up top, but Gibson lawn darts Webster on Mandrews. He dumps Webster to the outside after some double teams. Gibson and Drake lift Andrews up into a suplex position, but he reverses it into a double stun dog millionaire, which was came out of nowhere. I like that. Was a bit of a shock. He goes up top, but Aichner runs in, shoves Webster into the stairs as usual, because Aichner is running in, and he does the stairs spot again. But as Aichner goes to drive his knees into Webster, Mandrews goes after him, dives to the outside onto Aichner to make sure that Webster stays safe. And while we get back into the ring, and while Mandrews is hitting the shooting star press on Drake, Gibson breaks up the pin, clutches him into the Shankly gates, and Andrews taps out. So that was your match. The grizzled young veterans get a big win, position themselves as top tag team contenders for the upcoming NXT titles. I mean, when you think about it, Mustache Mountain, the Gallus boys, Joe Coffey and Wolfgang, establishing themselves as a tag team, credible. These guys here as well, the grizzled young vets. I also buy Mandrews and Webster working together since they've started their tag team. It's been coming along quite well. But I don't really see who else, though. I don't see who else really can come across as a legitimate contender for these titles. We all feel like, right? It should be Mustache Mountain who win the titles, right? I mean, it's what makes the most sense. But then we were swerved pretty hard with the women's championship, where we all thought Toni Storm was going to come out on top, but no, they gave it to Rhea Ripley, which was a good choice. I think it's good that Ripley is in a position where she's the hunted, the one you have to chase to win. She's convincing in that position. After the match, Fabian Aichner, just after the match, he mounts Andrews and starts beating him up, but Webster comes in for the save. Later on, we see Aichner backstage, and he's mad that he got beat up, and he figures that if Webster and Andrews have such an issue with him, well, he's going to go find a tag team partner of his own. So maybe that's a credible tag team that's coming up as well. I don't know. We'll see. I like to hunt as well. People want to hunt for Rhea Ripley. That's good. And I like to hunt. Would I hunt Rhea Ripley, as some people in the chat are wondering? It depends, but, probably not, because, she's terrifying. You kidding me? I think she's like 6 inches taller than I am. She's menacing. Look, one thing's for sure is I wouldn't mess with her. That's for sure. Another women's match tonight on this episode. Killer Kelly versus Nina Samuels. Samuels and Kelly size each other up, and Samuels starts taunting Kelly, who comes right after her with some forearms. She hits a running forearm into the corner. A bicycle kick to Samuels. Kelly covers her, but only gets 2. Samuels rolls to the apron, ducks a strike, and hangs Kelly up on the top rope. She gets back into the ring. Samuels does, and mounts Kelly. Some weak-looking strikes to the back. Wasn't super convinced on that. Flips her over, covers Kelly, and only gets 2. She puts Killer Kelly into a full Nelson. Kelly tries to fight out, takes her a while, but eventually flips Samuels over with a snapmare. She tries to fight out, but Samuels flips her over, a snapmare, and covers Kelly, but only gets 2. Samuels then puts Kelly between the second and top rope, and she leaves her just like standing there. She's not tied up or anything. She's just standing there, and then Samuels runs the ropes and drop kicks Killer Kelly. Covers her, but only gets 2. It's an odd looking spot. I have issues with spots where wrestlers are set up in a certain position where you're like, naturally, there is no way you would be in this position, and then they wait there until a move is hit, just like they did with Killer Kelly tonight, or that spot where you hang someone in the tree of woe, but the person basically stays in a crunched position, so they're like an L. You know what I'm talking about. I'm going to use the Warren board here for those of you who are watching live. You have the turnbuckle like this, and you have someone. This is the person's legs here, that their body, and then they're kind of like that, and then the person jumps off to stomp them on the chest, just like that. That doesn't work for me. I think it's stupid. And I think the kind of moves that the kind of move that Samuels did tonight on Kelly, just standing her up and putting her between the top and second rope, she'd flop over. If she was out on her feet, she'd flop over to the outside. It's not believable. It doesn't look good. And that's the kind of stuff that takes me out of these matches, because it's like I feel like there's no reason for Killer Kelly to stay in that position and wait for a move to be executed. It doesn't feel natural. That's the kind of stuff that takes me out of my mind. Just sitting down, I'm going, bah. Anyway, she gets she gets Killer Kelly back into a full Nelson after this. Kelly slides out, rolls Samuels up for 2. Kelly starts striking back. Bicycle kick is caught, but instead she hits an enziguri on Samuels. Kelly then hits a suplex towards the corner, but she I think usually she's able to land that suplex closer into the corner than that. She was still somewhat far away, but commentary still called it, oh, in the corner. And then commentary said that, oh, the corner part, it's the hardest part of the ring. And I'm like, no. You're not. No. Bad commentary. Don't start that. No. There will be none of this nonsense now that the corner is the hardest part of the ring. We all know the apron on the outside is the hardest part of the ring. It's not the corner. I refuse this. No. So Killer Kelly then Samuels goes into the corner, and Kelly hits a basement dropkick on her, drags Samuels back into the middle of the ring, covers her for 2. Kelly then with a fisherman buster attempt, but Samuels pulls on her braids, on Kelly's braids. That allows enough distraction for Samuels to hit a Yushigoroshi for the win. Nina Samuels getting her first NXT UK win. Good for her. It was a good match. Again, just fine. Nothing terrible about it. It was sound. Couple of messy moments, but nothing too awful. Let's move on to the main event. Joe Coffey versus Travis Banks. This one has been simmering for a while. It's been bubbling up for a little while here. The Gallus Bros boys, the Coffee Bros and Wolfgang, well, they took Banks out weeks ago, and Banks has been wanting revenge on Joe Coffey, and he's going to get it tonight, or at least he's going to try and get it tonight. Coffey comes out without the Gallus boys, and man, Joe Coffey is a star. He's a star. He looks the part. He walks the part. He talks the part. That guy's got charisma. He's fantastic. I like him. I love him. And you can tell they're clearly setting him up to be a very credible opponent for Pete Dunne, and that's a match that I am salivating at the mouth for. Probably going to get it at the first takeover event. So we get some strikes early out between both guys. It's fast, it's brutal. They're just laying into each other to begin with. Coffey goes for some power moves, but Banks hits him with a drop kick that sends Coffey to the outside. Banks runs the apron and lands a running punt on Joe, who's on the floor on the outside. Banks then goes after Coffey, and they brawl onto the floor a little. Banks gets back into the ring and goes for a dive, but it meets a European uppercut by Coffey, which was, I don't know if it was the camera angle, but it didn't look, it didn't look all that harsh. Let's put it that way. Joe Coffey then picks Travis Banks up by the legs and tosses him into the barricade. Bad shoulder first, because Travis Banks had a shoulder injury His right shoulder was bad, still taped up, has the kinesio tape on it. This is going to be part of the story of the match. Joe brings Banks back into the corner, starts stomping on him, and he starts working that bad shoulder. Gets Banks into a full Nelson, but Banks sort of flexes his arms to keep Joe from locking his fingers, so the full Nelson isn't completely applied. Banks tries to fight out, but Coffee short arm shoulder tackles Banks right into the bad shoulder, and he continues pummeling said bad shoulder. Then gets him gets a trapezius hold on Banks, focusing on the bad shoulder. Banks battles out, but eats some more short arm shoulder tackles for his troubles. Banks starts kicking Joe's left thigh. You know, he figures that might as well try to weaken the vertical base. But all throughout these kicks, Joe doesn't let go of Travis Banks's arms. He's just hanging on to him and driving some shoulder tackles into the bad shoulder. Then Banks suddenly gets a jumping knee strike on Joe Coffey, and that breaks everything up. Coffey's in the corner, and he Coffey's in the corner, and he eats a drop kick to the back. Then a shining wizard. Banks covers Joe, but only gets 2. Coffey starts fighting back, tosses Banks into the corner, and avalanches him. A pump kick by Banks follows up, but then gets scooped up by Joe, slammed down to the mat, covers Banks, but only gets 2. The German suplex attempt is blocked by Banks, who instead runs the ropes, but Joe Coffey grabs Banks into a bear hug position. Not a bear hug, but a bear hug position. Spins around on himself a couple of times and ends with a belly to belly. He covers Banks, but only gets 2. Coffey goes back to work on the shoulder, but Banks does his best to try and strike back. They end up on the top rope. There's some shenanigans that ensue. And it ends with a double stomp by Banks off the top rope on Coffey's back, who was on all fours. Owie, owie, ow, ow. Coffey's in the corner again. Banks runs up onto the second rope, second turnbuckle, and hits a double stomp right on Coffey's chest. Fisherman suplex covers your boy Joe, but only gets 2. Coffey has enough. He rolls out onto the apron. Banks is doing, by the way, he's doing a great job selling the shoulder throughout all of this. He knocks Coffey to the floor. He runs the ropes and then dives onto Coffey on the outside, and it connects this time. No half-assed European uppercuts here to try and interfere. He throws Joe Coffey back into the ring. Banks goes up top. Springboard double stomp off the top rope onto Coffey. Covers him. Only gets 2.9. Coffey avoids some of Banks' offense. Goes for the all the best for the bells finisher. That spinning lariat that he does. Discus lariat, I guess you'd call it. Banks avoids it, but doesn't avoid the second attempt for the all the best for the bells. And Coffey connects, covers, and gets the win on Travis, continuing to establish Joe Coffey as a dominant force. This was a fun match. I liked it. Good contrast of styles. Nice and brutal. Gonna be honest, though, neither of these episodes this week did it for me. We usually get like really one marquee standout match that you just go, it just keeps playing back in your head. Didn't quite get that this week. Coffey and Banks was solid, absolutely solid. Probably the best match of both episodes. Really like Devlin versus Hitchman. That was a nice opener. That had great pace to it, some great energy. I thought Mustache Mountain versus Tyson T-Bone and Saxon Huxley was fine. And Andrews and Webster versus Gibson and Drake was absolutely okay as well. I mean, like I said, no standouts this week. 2 okay episodes. Wouldn't start off watching NXT UK with either of these. Weren't all that good. They've done better, let's put it that way. But still, moving forward as we get to Blackpool. So what are we doing next week? I don't know what we're going to be doing next week yet. I know that we're having an episode of NXT next Wednesday, so I'll be back here to at least cover that. 205 Live is taking a break next week. They're doing a best of 205 Live episode. Doing an hour episode of that. I have no idea how they can pack in the best of 205 Live of an entire year into just 1 hour. I don't know how they're going to make that happen. But anyway, I won't be recapping that. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe NXT UK next week will only have, they'll probably have 2 episodes again. Maybe I'll just do 1 episode where I do NXT and then NXT, both episodes of NXT UK. That's probably what we're going to do. But we're going to do it after Christmas, right? We'll be doing it around the 26th, something like that. So we won't be seeing each other, folks. We're talking to each other until after Christmas. So I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. And just like John said in the comments, I hope everyone has a wonderful time, and please be safe. Stay safe if you're traveling across the country or your state, province, administrative zone. Just be careful. Spend as much time with friends, family, loved ones. Enjoy your Christmas. We'll see you after that on the 26th, Boxing Day in Canada, folks. I will not stand by and go celebrate Boxing Day if there's NXT to cover. You can rest assured that your boy Warren Hayes is going to be right here to do it. And in the meantime, follow me at youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes or on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes. I want to thank everyone for joining us live. Thank you all for joining in, and I'll see you next time.